What is, in this stage of your life, a non-negotiable for your day?
Oh, every day?
Every day.
My favorite one is probably, if we're not in the same city, it's FaceTiming my wife and just laughing with her.
Oh.
Like, that's my non-negotiable.
What's up, friends? It's your girl, Emily Curl, here at our iHeartRadio studios in New York City. And today we're here with author, entrepreneur, and host of the award-winning podcast, On Purpose. He's one of the biggest names in health and wellness, and we are so lucky to have him here today. Jay Shetty, everybody. Can we give it up for Jay in our studio? Your cheering squad is here.
Oh, what a sweet and warm welcome. I really appreciate it.
We are so happy to have you. We've been so excited for this conversation. We're such huge fans of On Purpose, so thank you for your time. Let's talk about the podcast. You started this over 6 years ago. You already had such a huge community online. What made you want to turn to podcasting specifically?
That's such a great question. For me, it was, I feel like everything has like an internal reason and an external reason. So what I mean by that is, for me, I was having all these amazing conversations offline with people that I knew, whether they were athletes or actors or musicians. And there were these deep and thoughtful, meaningful conversations. And I thought, how amazing would it be if we could record them and share them with the world? And so that's why On Purpose has these really vulnerable, really open, deep dive conversations, because a lot of the guests I have are people I know or have some connection with. And so that's been really, really beautiful. And then the external reason was, I was just so excited to make content that allowed people to consume it for longer than 4 minutes. So when I first started creating videos, they were 4 to 5 minutes long. And actually, when I first wanted to launch a podcast, the biggest feedback I got was, Jay, no one wants to listen to you for longer than 4 minutes. And so I'm so grateful that I was able to push through. But I really believed that if I could have a deep relationship with my community, where I could connect for an hour or two, now sometimes every day with people, you could really start to help introduce new habits, new shifts, new connections. And so for me, those were probably my two core reasons.
What have you learned the most about yourself as a storyteller through doing the podcast? Because it is such a different medium.
I think the biggest thing I've learned about myself as a storyteller, that is such a great question. I'd have to say the biggest thing I've learned about myself as a storyteller through doing the podcast is just how you have to trust yourself to channel and let go of a stream of thought. I think storytelling can be very crafted, it can be very perfected, and actually what I think works well in podcasting is just the ability to let the audience and community into a stream of thought, or to allow people into a real conversation that you were having anyway, or to allow people into a world that you're consumed by this week. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be curated, and it doesn't have to be meticulously planned out. It can actually be inviting someone into a real dialogue, and people love it. Whereas I think up until then, stories were very perfectly told, and the perfect twist and the perfect moment, and podcasting kind of changed all of that. People wanted that raw authenticity.
I was going to say, it is so nice because when I listen to your podcast, it's on my TV, it feels like it's in my living room, that I'm sitting down with you. And I personally get so much from your show, and I think, especially for me as a host, I always love to see how other people do it. And you are just so phenomenal at crafting these conversations and being so present. What do you find the most rewarding part for you about doing this job, in particular about being a host and guiding these conversations?
The most rewarding part was we took On Purpose on tour this year for the first time. So we did 15 cities across North America and Canada. And I got to meet our listeners for the first time in person.
Wow.
In a mass way.
And to look out at that crowd, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was just amazing. We did the Greek Theatre in LA, and it's like 5,000 people. And the theatre at MSG in New York with 5,000 people. Julia Fox did that one. Jimmy Kimmel did LA. Had some amazing guests. And what I loved about it was meeting our community. I can't believe that there are hundreds of millions of people who listen every year and give me 2 hours of their life, sometimes every day. And to be able to look at those people in the eyes and hold their hands and give them hugs and meet some of them was truly the gift. And so, yeah, I think that's what fulfills me the most, or fills me up the most, is getting to meet. And I love it, obviously, when it happens on the streets randomly. That's beautiful too. But I think that was one of the most beautiful parts of it, for sure.
And is the tour something you want to continue doing? Is
definitely.
Okay, so that's going to be a staple.
It was so much fun. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Let's go back to the guests for a second. You mentioned this. You have had everyone from athletes to experts to celebrities. How do you choose the voices that feel right for On Purpose, especially because you are producing so much all the time?
Yeah. The first thing is relationships I already have. And so people that I know well, and I know where they can go, and I know how thoughtful they are, and maybe they haven't had the platform yet to share that. I think the biggest part about On Purpose is saying, what can you share with us that you can't share on any other platform? Because we're not asking you to be funny. We're not asking you to sell something. We're not asking you to have to be interesting for 3-minute sound bites. We're not asking for you to be anything apart from your truest, most authentic self. So are you willing to do that? And so I almost think that acts as like a filter anyway. And so a lot of people won't even reach out or don't want to come on the show because they may not be ready for that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that so many wonderful guests have trusted us with that has kind of created that. So I think one of the ways we select is who wants to do that and who do we want to do that with. The experts are really selected from things that I'm personally fascinated by or what I think the world is struggling with right now. For example, this is heavy, but it's important. We just had the head of suicide from Harvard on because male suicide is on the rise. Or, we had an expert on which was all to do with women's health in their early 20s because that's such a big part of our audience and people are unaware of what's happening. Or we saw that our audience really loves hearing about entrepreneurship and love and relationships. And so we really care about what the audience wants. And so I'm listening in the comments, I'm listening to seeing reviews or what people share in their stories. And our audience is amazing. They're always engaging, always creating content. So being able to watch that and spot that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And the last way we decide is, I really love it when someone just genuinely reaches out. I can sometimes get a DM from someone or a voice note.
Really? I was curious. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just get DMs and voice notes and someone will say, hey, I just think On Purpose is the right place for me to share my story.
Wow.
And
so your message request. I was wondering, yeah.
That's like the most meaningful thing when it happens. We've got one coming up soon that I can't share yet, but it came from someone just literally DMing me and saying, I was On Purpose in my dream. And then I woke up and so I reached out. And so, things like that are just magical and beautiful.
The depth of conversations, like you said, have been amazing. When you think back and you started the podcast, the very first episode, did you have any idea that it was going to blossom into this world, into this show?
Not at all. It was such a rough first few months. It turned into an amazing first year, but it was rough in the sense when you're launching something new and no one really believes in it. And I always like to remind people of that because I think it helps the person who's trying to start right now.
Yeah, it's so important. Yeah.
No one's going to believe in it on day one. No one's going to care. No one's going to think it's going to do well. You're going to get people telling you not to. I was told not to start because I think in 2019 there were 700,000 podcasts and everyone said it was too saturated. I think today there's like 5 million or whatever. Yeah. And so I was told not to start one because the industry is too saturated in 2019. So you're always going to be told, even 2025, people say it's too saturated, there's too many podcasts. And you're just going to keep being told these excuses and these lies and these myths. And so don't hope that everyone thinks you have a great idea. I don't think anyone thought I had a great idea. I don't even think I thought I had a great idea. I just really cared about what I was doing. I believed in it. And I'm grateful that it's...
And it was the practice and repetition. I feel like you really worked hard to build this.
Yeah, I was very clear from day one about what the message was, what the goal of the conversation was, how I was guiding the conversation, how much I shared in the conversation. It was all very clear to me as to what I thought would help, and I'm glad it resonated with people. So I'm really grateful, really humbled by it. It's been beyond me, so yeah.
And like I was saying in my intro, you're not only a podcast host, you're an author, you're an entrepreneur. You do a lot. Do you maintain that same energy and enthusiasm for all those different lanes in your life, or does it ebb and flow? Do you have sometimes where you're more interested in one than the other? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I feel like the variety is something I enjoy because you start seeing lots of connections between everything and the worlds start to collide, and that's kind of the fun part. And so I'm quite strategic and focused when my world is compartmentalized quite well. So for example, this week's been a podcast week. And so I did 2 podcasts a day for 5 days in a row.
2 a day?
And that sets me up for like the next 10 weeks.
Wow.
Which means for the next 3 weeks, I probably won't record a podcast, which allows me to focus on the other parts of the business.
Yeah.
And I really like functioning that way because for this week, I can just be me, the interviewer. And I can get really focused on that, really dialed in, really present. And then next week, I can be me, the team manager version of me, or the week after, I can be me, the speaker version of me. And so it allows me to kind of tap into different parts of my brain at different times, rather than expecting myself in one day to be all of those things. Yeah, I can't be host, CEO, author, and all the other things in one day. I read a study once that said the more you try and oscillate between logical and rational to creative and right brain thinking, the more you're exhausting the brain. And so it's literally like trying to drive from one side of New York to the other right now.
Right.
And it would take you hours and hours and hours. And you might be good at doing it at the start, but over time you'll lose that ability. And so it's better to have a day where you do all data and then have a day where you do all creative, as opposed to go data creative.
Okay, because that was my next question for you, is like with a schedule like that you have, and you also have to be so present in everything that you do, how do you avoid burnout? But is that kind of one of the structures that you have in place for yourself?
That's one of the biggest lifesavers. So when I'm writing a book, that's all I'm going to do that week, or for those 3 days in a row. I want to be writing 6 to 7 hours a day, and that I'm just fully focused. And I think it comes back down to the beautiful skill of monotasking, right? We all think we can multitask. And studies show only 2% of the world can actually multitask. And the funny thing is, when we hear that, we all think we're in that 2%. And so everyone's thinking, that's me. And it's like, no, you're not. You're in the 98%. And so monotasking, this idea of being able to focus on one thing at a time, you think it's less effective and less productive, but it's far more efficient. You'll achieve far more. So again, this is all study-based, and this is the kind of reasoning I base my life on. And I think that helps with burnout. And then, of course, there's everything I listen to from my guests of a high-protein diet, working out 5 days a week, sleeping well. Like, I'm listening to it all the time, so I have no excuse not to follow it, and I'm plugged in.
But is it easy to maintain all that information? Because you're absorbing so much all the time. I feel like I'd be like information overload, but are you able to process it?
That's a great question. There are times when people say to me, so what did you learn this week? And I'm like, I have no idea. I need to listen again. There are definitely those days where you've had so many interviews. But I think that's when the best conversations kind of have a moment and stand out. And, this week I got to interview Aryna Sabalenka, who just won the US Open, and I got to interview her 48 hours after she won. And I remember that conversation really well because she spoke about how she lost her father in 2019 and just how tough that was because he introduced her to tennis. But she really feels that when she's playing tennis, she's carrying him. And she feels that she's the champion today because of her dad. And so you remember those really special moments and those really thoughtful moments, and I could do that for a lot of my guests this week. So,
wow. Yeah. Okay, so Jay, last question for you too. I know you talk a lot about this on the show too, about your own life and your, the things that you do every day. But what is, in this stage of your life, a non-negotiable for your day?
Oh, every day?
Every day. What sets you up for success?
There's so many non-negotiables. I'm like,
maybe your top 3.
Yeah.
What are those things that you're
I don't want to give the obvious one. So like, I try and eat right, work out. I don't want to pick any of those. My favorite one is probably, if we're not in the same city, it's FaceTiming my wife and just laughing with her.
Oh.
Like, that's my non-negotiable because she's the joy of my life. She's the best thing in the world. And so being able to, if both of us are traveling or in different spaces like we are today, just FaceTiming her, even if it's for a few moments, and just laughing with her and she's funnier than me, but if I can make her laugh, that makes me.
Then you're having a good day.
That makes me feel really good. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Jay, you are the best. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. We so love your podcast. We love having you at iHeart Studios. Can we give it up for Jay one more time in our studio? Jay Shetty, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Did you like that video? You can check out more over here, and don't forget to subscribe to iHeart right here. And if you're already a longtime fan, make sure you ring the bell down below so you don't miss a single video. See you next time.